Hi, I'm Brandon Mcardle, and this is a day in the fight life.
Hey, what's up, guys? Adam Araby here, back again in a day in the fight life with Brandon Mcardle, the fighting footballer. Sir, introduce yourself. How you feeling?
I'm good, yeah. My name is Brandon. I'm from Ireland. I'm an MMA fighter. Train out a sub fighter MMA. I'm also a coach. I run my own coaching business and for football, fighting, and fitness, and it's called F3 because of that. So, yeah, that's me.
That's sick, man. Well, you train in the same gym I come out of, so
Yeah.
this is a little bit of a different interview. We've known each other for how many years have you been training at sub fighter now?
Sub fighter. I think probably 2.5 years, maybe something like that.
Yeah, then I've known you about that same amount of
Yeah,
time.
probably about the same
Yeah,
time.
so. Yeah, this is like kind of gonna be a cool one for me, man, because I always thought you had like pretty cool, interesting story. Like come over here all the way from Ireland as a professional footballer, start getting into back training in MMA, and now here you are taking amateur fights, man. So tell me a little bit of how this journey got started, man. What first brought you over to America and how this whole thing, ended up.
So yeah, I was playing football in Ireland, and I ended up getting a message on Facebook, I think it was, from this crowd that bring people over on soccer scholarships to play in college, and yeah, they brought me up to this place up in Dublin, and then we did like a kind of a trial thing, and they brought me in. They were like, "Do you want to come over to America and do this tournament and you come and play in front of a bunch of college coaches and then see how it goes from there?" I was like, "Yeah, it sounds deadly." So I went over, I did that, played a tournament in Arizona, and then I ended up getting like 12 scholarship offers to go to a bunch of different colleges in America. And the tough part about that was then so in Ireland, the way they do the education system is in your last year of school, you do one exam at the very end called your leaving certificate. That counts for your entire schooling.
It's like a mega final exam.
Yeah, well, it counts for everything. Like
Jeez.
if you don't do that, you don't get into college. If you don't, you know what I mean? Like it counts for the entire thing. So you spend the whole summer doing that. But most colleges are recruiting in like February or March. So I hadn't taken this exam yet. So they were like, "Can you send over your grades?" And I was like, "Well, no, because I haven't done my exams yet."
Yeah.
So I didn't even have like a GPA or anything to give them.
Oh.
So I was supposed to go to a college in San Diego, and then that fell through because I didn't have grades to give them. So I ended up going to a junior college and did a year in Arizona, and then popped over to another one in Wyoming, and then did 2 years in Chicago, and then just kind of floated around the place, got my degree, started coaching, and then
Damn, all
kind
right.
of bit of a wild one. Yeah.
No, that's a fun story. So I thought like it was straight like come over here, started playing professional, But I wanted to ask then how did you end up now playing for Capistrano FC and just landing here in OC?
Yeah, so I was around after I finished college. I was supposed to sign a contract off with a team. I won't kind of give names and stuff, but I was supposed to sign a contract off there. Basically fell through, and I came out and I started coaching in Orange County, and then this was right before COVID, so I was out here coaching for a little while. COVID hit, I went back to Ireland, got stuck in Ireland for about a year and a bit. And then when I came back, I met, he's actually the guy who owns this gym, Pete, who runs Capistrano FC. And then I went down there, started playing with them, and then, kind of went that way. But I haven't played for Capo in a while now. It's been probably about 6 months or so, I think, since I played for them. So, yeah.
I did not know that, guys. I have been sick with the flu and a little bit busy here, so it's been a minute since I've gotten to catch up with Brandon.
Yeah.
So how has that been kind of like taking, because as well as you've obviously taken a step back from there, but I would say you've doubled down on building out your own business. How has that kind of pursuit has been? Where, like you said, you're both, I would say, a fitness coach as well as a coach for soccer and a coach for mixed martial arts now. henceforth the name F3.
Yeah.
How's it been kind of just pursuing that and like being just a young man pursuing a business and trying to build that out?
It was like it was kind of a scary thing to jump into, but at the same time, it was like very liberating because now I'm my own boss. I get to kind of choose my hours that I work. I get to like, if I want to put more time into the business, I can put more time into the business. If I want to put more time into a fight camp, I can put more time into a fight camp. I have a bit more freedom, So that was kind of cool. But the reason that I started the whole thing up was because like I played football in Ireland, I played football in America. I got to like a decent level, and then while I was playing in college, I got my bachelor's degree in exercise science.
Yeah.
That would be the fitness end of things, and then I kind of went back into MMA and just had all these passions that kind of folded together. And I think I always kind of knew I was going to be a coach, even when I started coaching when I was like 16.
Yeah.
So I think I always knew I was going to be a coach. And then as I like progressed as a coach, all of those things were things, when you have the skills to be a coach, anything that you can teach, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like when I kind of had all of these things, I was like, right, just throw them all together and then start to build that. So yeah, it's been a cool experience so far, and I'm learning a lot about the business world from people who know a lot more than I do, and gives you different pathways and ideas of what can happen in the future, and different ways to pursue long-term goals and all that.
Awesome, man. Well, let's get to the next part of that journey, which is going from professional soccer player now to amateur MMA fighter.
Yeah,
man. So what kind of sparked it in your head? What kind of like got you started now on your martial arts journey?
So like everybody, when you were a kid, like I did taekwondo for a little bit, and then started getting into fights in school and stuff. So one of my mates brought me to a boxing gym, and I trained boxing over there for a little while. And then I think football took over from then because I got to like a pretty decent level, came over here on a scholarship, all those kind of things. And then was it after I got done with college, and I kind of realized like, I wasn't, the contract offer that I had kind of fell through and things like that. I was just like, all right, well, I'm not saving myself specifically for football now. I can go back and dabble in this, which I've always had an interest in, So I got in, I started training back in SBG over in Ireland, and kind of started learning over there. Went to a couple different gyms during COVID that were kind of still going on the low, and started training.
Ninja training,
Yeah,
we all did some COVID ninja training.
Yeah.
We did some COVID ninja training. Like, it's out there. We all did it.
So yeah, that was kind of where I started with it, and then I didn't get into it with the intention of trying to fight. I got into it just being like, this is fucking fun.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying myself. Like, I'm learning all
Your
the time.
Your sister was an MMA fighter at the time,
yeah,
right?
she still is. Yeah, she's very good actually. She's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu as well. She has her own coaching business back in Ireland. She's
nice.
1-0 in MMA. She has a couple of kickboxing fights. Like, she's
fun.
A bit of a badass. So I went up and started training in her gym. But yeah, she probably helped me get into it actually, I'd say. But then anyway, I didn't go into it with the intention of like trying to fight. I was just trying to learn,
Yeah.
And
settle a few family disputes, you're like taking the milk here. And I'm sure she had a few of like, man, taking my potato.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think after that, I kind of came back over here, got into sub fighter. And then I think just naturally through progression, you get to a point where you're like, well, I think I'm good enough to kind of go and fuck somebody up. Let me try it. So then I did that. I had a few boxing fights. I had a Muay Thai fight, and then kind of was like, all right, well, I think I'm getting good enough to try MMA, and just jumped in. It's a scary thing, like just jumping
busted a guy's orbital.
yeah. But yeah, no, it's a scary thing jumping in, But at the end of the day, like, you learn a lot about yourself. They say everything good is on the other side of fear, don't they?
Yeah.
So to push yourself past that and like show yourself that you are who you say you are, I think is the biggest thing that I get from fighting,
Yeah, man. No, it was like super cool because I actually got to be there like the night of your amateur debut. It was like a last minute thing. I think Leo had an extra ticket or somebody. And I was like, I'll take it. And then I was like 5-10 minutes away from the gym, grabbed a ticket, and then hauled my ass over to where were you at? Hawaiian Gardens, right?
Gardens,
hauled my ass over to Long Beach.
Yeah.
And that was a great fight, dude. You know, that was good. You
That
know,
was
the
a
guy
wild
was
one.
like,
He was good too.
yeah.
He was better than I thought he'd be. Like long.
That
rangy.
was straight BS. They said like, what would they try to say? He was 6 foot something, like 6'1" or
I think
6
they said he
foot.
was 6 foot, but he was at least.
He was taller than me, and I was
Yeah,
six.
he was
I'm 6'2".
big. He was a big guy. He was a big guy.
And you know, just like quick jab, you came right under him and just like you
caught the
like the
overhand,
signature, you know.
Yeah, but he was long though. Like when we were stood against or like across the cage from each other, and that cage is a small cage, you know. When we were stood across the cage from each other, we took like 2 steps, and then all of a sudden, you fucking jabbed me in the nose. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was long. He was.
What was kind of like that first seconds like of your first fight of like no turning back, like it's go time?
I think it's before the actual fight starts. I think when the fight starts, it's like your body just goes into like, oh, I do this all the time. Like I train.
I would agree. Yeah.
It's the fear beforehand that is the scary part. You know, it's like standing in the cage while he's walking in, and you're like, oh my god, this is real. Like your mind either goes like, all right, like I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna fucking I've trained for this, I'm ready, or it goes like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like this is scary. That's that fight or flight, you know, and you just push past the fear of that, and then you're in there to do what you came to do, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's just business at that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, he was good. I have a lot of respect for that guy. He's solid, and he fought the whole round with a broken orbital bone.
Yeah.
Because it was like the first punch that I threw.
Yeah.
This fucking thing.
Caught him right on there.
Yeah.
And the guy wanted to keep going too. Like you could see he was pretty pissed. Like they stopped him on the
he was
stool.
very good, and he nearly finished me too. He got me in a deep guillotine.
That one was close.
Deep
that
guillotine,
one was
yeah.
really, really close. Yeah, because that guy had long arms too. So
yeah.
But you just, like I said, you know, like a guy who's performed before and competed, like just stayed calm, posted on him, were able to get out and finish the job.
What was going through my head is like, I didn't come here and have like fucking 80 people come pay to watch me fight, and then it's over in a minute, you know?
Yeah, right?
Like,
like
that, you know?
Yeah, it's like you prepare for so long. It's like, let me get my full fight time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, let's now. I was there for the first fight, but I wasn't there for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into a little bit of that one, man. Take me through that. Like, it was a pretty good like win against a very tough opponent, man. On like, what was it? A week's notice opponents change?
Yeah, we had I was scheduled to fight a guy with a boxing background, making his debut, and so I was preparing for that. Was preparing for a boxer, and you know was comfortable, kind of ready to go there. And then with like a week to go, I got a message from the promoter saying that he was out, like he had some paperwork issues or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they put me up against a different guy. So I went from a guy making his debut to a guy with a couple fights and a blue belt and a background in Muay Thai. So it was like a very, very different opponent.
Younger guy than you, right? So
yeah, I think he was a couple of years younger.
Trained like since like a kid almost or something like that.
I'm not sure that much about his background, but he was a good guy. He was a solid fighter. And yeah, I mean it was a tough one to like go from having one idea in your head to like a completely different one, and the idea of a guy being like more well-rounded as well. You know what I mean, with a little more experience as well. So. But yeah, I mean, I guess we both kind of took the fight last minute because he wasn't preparing for me either. So we went in there, we had a fucking good scrap. It was fun. But it was a lot, like my mind was a lot calmer going into that one than it was in the one before. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I was like, there was an element of like, I've been here before. Yeah. You know what I mean? I do this 6 days a week. So like, I'm there. And yeah, it was cool. Walked in. Felt good. Stepped in the cage. He actually caught me with a really nice jab at the very start again, and I think he deviated my septum. It was like really strong, nice punch, and then he cut me open as well with another punch. But when he took me down, I've been in that position before, like a million times, where people are trying to take me down because usually I'm, more of a striker. Yeah. And then people take me down. I'm like, all right, like I know how to work here. So I was calm. He was throwing strikes. I was like comfortable, knowing what I was looking for. I managed to latch onto his arm and finish with the armbar in I think just over a minute. So it was a quick one, but it was fun.
Hey, you earned submission. What was it? Submission of the year?
Submission of the year for Hendo's Fight Night, yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's still a pretty great accomplishment. I'd say, even for a minute,
I was happy with that, yeah.
It was a fun scrap watching it over again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. He's a good fighter too. Like he's won a bunch of like blue belt competitions as well, and I wasn't even I wasn't even at that level at the time, so
Yeah.
I was like happy out, you know.
No, definitely. Well, that leads me to my next question, which is like, what's your kind of like next plans for at least your competitive career? Are you planning to take another fight, or just kind of focusing on building out F3 and coaching? Like,
Yeah, I think right now, just the way things have kind of panned out over the last couple of months, I think the business is a little bit more on my mind than fighting. But there's going to come a time where I get the itch, and then my mind is just like, all right, I'm going into fight camp. This is how we work, and when that comes, I'll know. You know what I mean? I don't want to like rush myself back into anything before I feel stable and ready in the other areas of my life, because like a full fight camp takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's mentally exhausting. You're cutting weight. You're preparing to step into a cage with another man who's prepared for you, and it's
you're running like crazy.
yeah, you're doing everything like crazy. Like you're fully invested in this because you can't not be.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not fully invested in it, you're gonna get hurt, or
It's a sport that you cannot have one foot out the door.
100%.
And it shows when you walk in that cage if you had one foot out the door.
Yeah, because you'll take the exits. You know what I mean? Like I, in the fights that I have had, there's always been a moment where you're like, I could give up here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like I could let this guy win. Then that little thing in your mind goes, nah, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't train for that.
I feel like that's the beauty of martial arts though, because like it's not like that goes away. You have that every day in training. Like we know, like we both spar Chase. Like we both sparred him before. Shout out to Chase Whitmer. You know, if this comes out before his fight or after his fight of LFA, support that guy. I'm predicting in the future, currently as of this recording, brutal knockout. This man will not be the same after fighting Chase.
Chase the dog.
I'm going to pray for his body and his family right now. But yeah, just that man's a monster, and we've all been like under that guy. She's raining down hell on us. Where it's like I have the choice to just tap or make the decision for myself to at least try. Even if I fail, I at least can go home knowing that and look myself in the mirror that knowing I didn't give up as a person. Which I think at the core of it, and the reason why we do this is like to answer those questions or to gain that strength, or even if you do fail in that, to be like, all right, I failed, this is how it feels, but I can come back better the next day.
Yeah.
You know, that's 100%. You know, and the reason I guess I've stressed that is like anybody who's looked at training or considered training or all that, like you still have that same moments that you do like in a fight. That's why you train, you know? And so henceforth why, not everybody has to fight, but everybody should at least train once. Like at least give it a shot. Like
I think I listened to a Daniel Cormier interview not so long ago, and he was like, I walk around with confidence, knowing that if shit was to go down, I can handle myself. And like since training for however many years it's been, I look at the difference between who I was before I trained and who I am now. And before there's almost a bit of you that's kind of like, how would I react? You know what I mean? Like how would I do? And you kind of almost end up in those situations, and because you're like thinking about those things. But when you know like I can handle myself, you don't want to end up in those situations too. You know what I mean? You're like, I'll de-escalate the situation. If somebody comes into my space and they're like, all
you know
me,
the value of the consequences.
Exactly.
Very real.
And you know, because you've shown yourself, you know, every day that you go into spar and every day you go into training, like I have the skills to deal with these things. You know what I mean? That you walk around with confidence. You're like, I know that I can handle myself. I'm good.
Yeah, and I think that's just like you have to be able, when it comes to especially physical confrontations, like if you've never been in there, you're not going to be used to it. Like, you know, perfect real world example. Yesterday, actually, I was dealing with a kind of personal family emergency where one of my close family members, essentially, she was sexually harassed at the park the other day. You know, and I was calming her down and everything, and obviously like going in shock. And she's like, you know, everybody always says like, oh, I pepper spray him and I had my pepper spray, all this, but he was just, anyway, and the man who harassed her was like an old 75-year-old dude with dementia. And so, and I was like, just trying to explain, I was like, you know, you may think like, I'll do this, and that, you know, in a situation, but when it props up, like that fight or flight response, like we said, will pop in. And so if you're not used to being in that, you may still react, but it's going to take you much longer versus somebody who's used to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like I see punches coming at me every day, or you know.
Yeah, like I'm used to physical dangers being presented, so therefore my nervous system is going to react to keep me safe. You know, the henceforth of down to that fight or flight system versus the opposite where my nervous system's not used to this, so it's just going to lock up just for its own safety. Yeah. And it's like a very common thing of like, to Daniel Cormier's point, like you need to, not need to, but you should train, at least try it for the confidence and being used to those situations. So you don't lock up, you don't freeze up, and you can handle them just in better and generally in better.
I mean, I have a story that kind of testaments to that. Like the first time I was ever punched in the face, I didn't react.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I was like frozen, stunned, like, oh, what just happened? You know what I mean? It was in school. I was like 12 or something. But the guy comes up to me and just digs me clean in the mouth, and I'm like, catch me right there. I was like, whoa, what was that? Wait, did he just punch me? Like, what? And I was in such shock that, like, you don't think to react because you're trying to, like, comprehend the situation. And then I was just like, whoa. And I didn't react. And then, obviously, like, people are like, oh, Brandon's a bitch, whatever. Like, so you end up getting into fights, and then, you know. Now
you got to double down, you know.
I mean, you learn from that situation of, like, okay, one, I'm not made of glass.
Yeah.
I just took a punch. I stood there fine. Like, I'm grand.
Yeah.
Two, the next time somebody does that to me, I have an idea in my head of how I'm going to react. You know what I mean? So that a couple of weeks later, some guy came up to me trying to do the same thing. I like caught his hand. We ended up fighting after school. I like Superman punched him in the head. And
oh hell yeah!
Fucking, he ended up with a black eye for the next few weeks. And like, but that probably wouldn't have happened had the first one not happened. You know what I mean? So like, it almost became like a liberating thing. It's like, oh, I got hit in the face. I realize I'm not made of glass. I know what that feels like now. Next time it happens, I know how to react. You learn to respond to that. And then you wouldn't have thought that guy who got punched in the face and didn't react would then end up going and being a fucking MMA fighter in California. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah.
We all have this surprising stuff for ourselves. And again, speaking of surprising, I love your teenage stories, man. Like, that, like I don't know why that one, like, popped in my head of, like, you getting into fights in school. Like, because I remember one time we were drilling down at Subfighter. We was on a sparring day. And we started just doing like group sparring, like remember, like, 2-on-1 basically, just to be like, hey man, in life you're not always gonna be in a cage fighting 1-on-1. Some days you're gonna go to the gas station, somebody's gonna mouth off.
Yeah.
Maybe you mouthed off or you know, mouthed like off back, and now you gotta fight two guys once. And then you told me some story. It was actually the same night of your fight when we were talking about it, about you like. What was it, running and your friends stealing pallets or something? Like, where you would steal pallets, get into fights with like old dudes or something and like burn them? Like.
So in Ireland, we do this thing where we go collecting. So.
Oh, by the way, if there's still statutes of limitations on any of this is all alleged. All alleged claims. May or may not have happened. May or may not have happened.
But yeah, no, so we'll go collecting when you're like a teenager. And basically what you're trying to do is like build a bonfire. Yeah. So we light it up on Halloween. And so let's say there's my house in the state, there's another house in the state, there's another house in the state. Everybody's trying to have the biggest fire. So like you're going off, you're like, you know, finding pallets and tires and all this kind of stuff. You collect it for like probably 2 months. And then it becomes like, it sounds fucking stupid because it's just like 12 and 14-year-olds. But like, it becomes like gang shit, like where you're trying to like, oh, we're gonna steal their shit.
Yeah, you know, you had gangs in New York, you had gangs in the Shire.
Yeah. Like. But yeah, it becomes like that. But I remember one day I was walking home and I was by myself, and it was stupid because I shouldn't have been by myself.
This sounds good. Yeah.
But there was a gang of probably like 15 guys across the street, and like 6 of them walked over because they saw me by themselves, and they came up to me and they're like, all right, Brandon, like, where's your stuff? I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm obviously not going to tell you where the stuff is. And he grabs me by the shirt.
You're not going to know where my pallets are at.
He grabs me by the shirt and he's like, no, you're going to tell us. And I was like, I'm not going to tell you. And he headbutts me. I just like ducked my head down. He tried to knee me. He like caught me on his elbow. I like threw a punch and then just got jumped by 6 guys.
Damn.
So yeah, it gets really rough, like in situations like that. But again, like, you know, you end up in those situations, so you kind of have to deal with them. Like, you're probably not going to win 1v6, but you know.
Hey, at least you know when you're walking back, like bruised and bumped, even if you lose a fight, you're like, at least I tried.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't pussy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Well, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this style interview.
Okay.
We're just going to talk about our sparring the other day and just our whole training methods and everything we kind of do, I guess, at Subfighter, man.
Okay.
So let's get into it a little bit more, Well, first off, shout out to our cameraman, G, who's now sparred you multiple times, Come here, bud. Hop in, bud. Yeah. Hop in, bud. So I guess we'll start off with that, man. How was sparring our guy G, which I got to give my flowers to this guy. This guy, there's not many people that, start training and, actually throw themselves into it. And, because he was sparring on his second day down at XFIT with, the Cody Sessions crew and, granted, our Fight Fan Culture crew. So I got to give it up to the guy, so.
Yeah, no, he's a warrior. He's one of them that, you take him down, do whatever you want to him, and then he's just getting straight back up into your face. You know what I mean? You don't, he doesn't stop. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest testament that I can give to you. You know what I mean? That's something you can't teach. You know what I mean?
What's been your thoughts, brother? Yeah.
I will say that's exactly what happened the other day. I had this whole game plan going into it. I was like, oh, I know exactly what Brandon's about to do, and he just did. He's like, and then I just hear Adam go, oh, style on her, Brandon. I'm like, oh, you're fucking kidding me. There's no way, dude. And so Brandon,
you had to get your body to be the dummy for the content, brother.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll throw some clips in there. But yeah, man, it was fun. But yeah, that's exactly what happened. He took me down and kind of just sat on me like he normally does for a good, 3 minutes. And then he eventually got me to tap. And then I got straight up and just gave him a quick little 1-2 to the face real quick. And he's like, oh, didn't expect that one. But yeah, I never stand a chance against Brandon. So.
But that's it though. You're a warrior. You know what I mean? Like I said, you can't teach that. You know what I mean? Some people, they'll feel that and they'll be like, fuck that, and then they're shying away trying not to get hit. Oh, you're like, fuck it, I'm coming forward. You know?
Yeah, dude. I grew up here. In elementary school, I grew up it was weird. It was always in elementary school, but everything else had never happened. I got in a lot of fights as a little kid. In high school, it never happened because I got bigger than everybody, and they didn't want to touch me. And I was like, well, this is lame. But yeah, so I kind of and he knows too. When I jumped into it, it was really I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, and I knew I wasn't gonna pussy out of it.
Yeah.
I feel that day too, everyone in the gym's like, oh, you're doing good, you're coming a lot. I'm like, people think I was gonna quit after 2 weeks. What the heck?
Well, some people do.
Yeah, exactly.
To give the perspective and why I find it fascinating, right? Just watching you and your journey at the start of it versus 5 years and then pretty much equivalent. Yeah, however many years on and off. But this run, we'll say 3. You can definitely test this. We see so many people that maybe even they get off to a hot start and they're training every day. And then all of a sudden 2 months, you never see them again.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life. So that's kind of our expectation. But versus G, who's, not only does he train, he's doing this with me. You know, if there's one person I could say who's with me every step of the way doing all this media stuff is G. So that's kind of the benefit I think he has a lot where, he's not just training, he's also around it, which I think something is you can also attest to now. Like I said, taking a coach to their MMA position, that probably helped your MMA got because you're around it all the time. So you're thinking about it and you're thinking about the concepts constantly.
100%, yeah. I think I've learned so much from coaching because when you're coaching, you're not just teaching other people, you're teaching yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I have a little example. Leo?
Yeah.
So Leo, I remember watching him one day. He was teaching a class, and I was like, "Oh, how do you do that?" And then he sat down. And he was like, "Hang on, let me do it to you because I don't know how I do it." And then he did it, and then he broke it down to himself, and then he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And that's you know how to do it, but you don't think about how to do it because you just do it naturally. Yeah. So when you're coaching, you have to think about how to do it because you have to be able to explain it, and then you understand it deeper. And then you can add other concepts to those things, and it just it sparks these webs of thought. You know what I mean? I've learned so much from coaching, even just things like balance and footwork, and working with people from a really basic level, and I'm working with people who have more fights than I do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you're I'm teaching these people just because I've had a breadth of experiences of breaking things down to build other concepts and stuff off it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I gotta definitely agree because actually yesterday I got to teach my first like the 6 p.m. class
Sick.
for the first time, and I've only taught like just some of the teens MMA in like a sparring class,
Hmm.
and I was just like super nervous, being like, man, am I gonna run out of drills and shit to show people?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
what am I gonna do? Like, I know what I do well, and I realized I was like, wait, yeah, you know what you do well, so just teach that.
Teach that,
Like,
yeah.
that's what they're gonna want to know anyway.
Yeah.
Like, no offense, I don't go to Floyd Mayweather trying to learn, peekaboo style.
Yeah,
Like, I
exactly,
want to
yeah.
learn the shoulder roll. I want to learn everything he knows.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so, and again, henceforth, why I love doing this series, like, and why I like training with different guys of styles for it and asking them about it is because, like, again, it's always the biggest point. You want to know how a guy's style works, go train with them.
Yeah.
Go spend just a day with them, and you
Mhm.
can get so much insight. Which I have to attest, like in our sparring the other day, the one thing that I noticed that I think like definitely you coaching in general has helped you was how much better your wrestling was and how much better your head placements was.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment where you had me up against the cage, and normally like I can just kind of like skinny guy, long guy, like wiggle off somebody, but like you kept putting your head perfectly everywhere it needs to be. I was like, damn it, he's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd give Adam and Chase all the credit for that. Like,
Yeah.
like even from that coach's mindset, like I think when you're fighting or you're drilling, in training, a lot of the time if you're like in the mindset of like a fighter, it's like I'm not letting this guy do this to me.
yeah.
But like half of the time I'm in the mindset of a coach and I'm like, okay, he puts his head there, now I can't do this. And that might set up this for him, or he's got the
Yeah.
underhook here, and then
Yeah.
he's taking me to a different place, and then I might even ask the question like, how the fuck did you do that one?
Yeah.
And, and I think just like allowing myself to learn those things, one, it makes me a better coach because then I have more
Technique.
content and
Yeah.
technique to teach my students, but two, it makes me a better fighter because then again I understand more positions.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped me a lot, Adam and Chase in particular.
Yeah, because like if I can really preach one thing that Adam teaches within his style of grappling through Subfighter is having options. And that's like one thing that's really helped me in terms of concept. And even in doing this, in terms of interviewing and trying to ask the right questions, is you realize like there's multiple options to answer one question, but you got to pick what's the most efficient and best one for you and your body type, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're like kind of like not an average build, obviously super athletic guy, but nothing
average
like
size.
Average size. And so the best thing for you is like with the striking background is like, okay, how do I get the gap and be able to use my muscle on things,
Yeah.
Versus some other guys who may be stockier and build like more heavier set of like, all right, I need to just get inside and stay there the whole time because every time on the outside I have nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would spar like guys like you and Gamal a lot different than I would spar guys like Jay Pre and Chase, who are my height or smaller, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think as well those kind of looks help you adapt to, because you have to play the game of like what's presented in front of you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
and like you can even see like one of the people that I was watching you spar that same day was Jordo.
Yeah.
And so that's always like a fun one to watch because as we both know, like Jordo just moves forward. So you gotta crack him to get him just to get him out.
To respect you,
to respect you / and to get like just a breather.
Yeah.
So otherwise it's just become a war of attrition. He's just gonna be on you the whole time. And so it was like you said, it's just how you are going to spar is going to be very different, and you need multiple different styles to be able to get just the most well-rounded game possible.
Yeah, that's the beauty of MMA, I think. You know what I mean? Because like even like in boxing, you can have a style and you can adapt that style slightly to work with everybody.
Yeah.
Like let's say I've got really quick feet, I can use my quick feet with a taller guy. I can use my quick feet to stay on the outside with a shoulder guy. I can use my quick feet to get in and find angles on a taller guy.
Yeah.
But in MMA, it's like 4 or 5 different worlds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can use my boxing, I can use my Muay Thai, I can use like crazy Taekwondo kicks, I can use my wrestling, I can use my jiu-jitsu. Like I just have to find out what world I'm better than you in and take you to that world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the sport,
100%, man. And like one thing I also got just to bring it back to just that sparring and what it's like getting to spar you. I find like really interesting is like, again, and I think I've heard it was either Daniel Cormier or another analyst, but like basically saying how cross-training different sports really does help your MMA game.
I feel
Because there may be some element there, some kind of movement there that you can implement. Like for me, I grew up playing golf my whole life, so I learned how to turn my hips over really
Yeah.
easily, and
Yeah.
so being
You see
able
that
to
in your
whip,
kicks, actually. Yeah.
came really really easily. Versus with you, where I always have fun, and like, maybe you can see it a little bit in the clips of sparring or anything when I like move out the angles, because I know as a soccer player, and I literally see I was watching your footwork do it, like while we were sparring. I was like, I knew he does this, where you do like the soccer cut, where like you'll get to the side, and because of obviously being able to like cut so much on a dime,
Yeah.
you cut a lot of angles and move
Right.
to the left, right, and a lot.
Yeah.
And so every time you like move to the side to start ripping that body, I knew the second there, I was like, nope, I gotta be right there with him. I
Yeah.
cannot let his shoulders leave my shoulder line.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
this is gonna be a bad day.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get styled on by Brandon. Maybe he throws a 360 spin kick, but hopefully, and he lands perfectly.
But landed on my ass though. Like.
Play the clip if I got it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, 6'5" is pretty hard to get up there.
I was trying, to be fair. I was trying.
I really, sometimes I forget how, just as another tall man, how tall Gamal really is to other people.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Because I'll stand back and just kind of like watch him. Because I was watching him you guys spar, and you just see the reach advantage. And I was like, oh yeah, Gamal's tall.
Yeah.
Gamal's pretty tall.
Yeah.
And so when you just 360 tried to your best to get your foot up there, you got pretty up there.
I think
it was just
was
the landing,
Yeah, I wasn't trying to like. I never tried to like crack head kicks or anything like that when I was sparring. So like when I go there, I'm trying to like tap it.
Yeah.
And then I lost my balance while trying to control it at the last second.
Man.
Yeah, it was funny though.
Yeah, I mean, still, again, you're throwing at a 6'5" guy.
Yeah.
Full blast or not, man. Like the landing's gonna matter. You gotta get air.
Yeah.
No, man, but was that something you kind of like consciously do, or is that just like instinctual of like my body moves in this way mechanically, so it's gonna move in that way most efficiently?
I think first of all, you don't really know what kind of a style you have until you've had a few fights. You know what I mean? So like even when I was training, you're still like before I fought, I was still trying to like figure out what I do well, even though at the time you obviously think you know what you do well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not until you get put in like tough situations where you're hard sparring or whether you're in a fight or whatever that you're like, oh no, this is what I do well.
Yeah, your instinct will react.
Yeah. So I think what probably happened with me is like obviously I'm a footballer, so I've got like probably quicker feet than most MMA fighters. So boxing came pretty naturally to me as in like moving my feet to good spots, and then the principle of being in good spots because I move my feet well translates into MMA as well. So then it becomes about like what reactions do I get when I get to certain angles, what movements do I need to create to get to those angles, what reactions do I get when I go to particular spots, and then how do I counteract those reactions, and like it becomes a game of chess in your head. So I think stylistically, I would say I'm probably playing chess most of the time, like downloading information of like what you're thinking, and then figuring out when I press this button what happens, when I press this button what happens. Okay, right, I'm gonna press this button so he does that, and then I can do this, and you know what I mean. I think so. Like I was saying, like stylistically, I'm a little bit maybe unorthodox, or maybe just like floaty to different spots, but it's always because of
like movement based counterpuncher.
Yeah,
anything is the best way. Like you'll pressure, but then like your big shots is on the counter punches.
Yeah.
And that was like something you could really see actually again when I was breaking down your sparring with Gamal, where he was trying to counter you, but because like obviously for one you're trying to spar to the level you're training for, but for two, like 6'5" guy, you're waiting for him to come in to go under. I know what you were looking for, and I was like interesting to see. I was like, oh, that theory's confirmed, because it's like a little bit of that cancel out of like if you're not moving forward, like you'll prepper, but those big ones is when they're in a bad spot and you're in the best spot you can be in.
One of the things I always say with my students is like there's two ways to break someone's guard, right? I treat it like a door.
Yep.
Right. So I can either go in with a fucking battering ram and break down the door, or I can knock on the door, and then when they open the door, I can go inside.
Yep.
So I like to knock on the door and let them open it up for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It's less effort.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I think of it that way, that's kind of what I resort to, I suppose. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll lead into like my one last kind of bit question here, and we'll wrap up. Your wife also trains.
Yeah, she does.
And I've also competed alongside your wife, and you've cornered her, So Let's get into a little bit of that, man. How's
Yeah.
that dynamic? Like,
It's quality. Yeah, she's phenomenal. She has like really funky kicks because she did taekwondo. And I think she
Yeah.
got up like blue belt or
Yeah,
red
she's
belt. or
pretty
something.
flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, she has like these really like funky kicks that like she'll catch you with shit that you don't
Yeah,
see
she was
coming.
a fun question mark. She's
Yeah.
caught me with that a few times. I'm like, where the hell?
Yeah, I know,
where-
and she's like 5'2" to get it
yeah,
up
I'm
there.
like,
It's
I'm
crazy.
6'2", man.
Yeah.
Like, what are you? How?
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, she's really funky with that. Her boxing has come on a long
Yeah.
way since
I thought
since
she pieced
working
that
here.
girl up that she fought. In
Oh,
my
she
opinion.
did. Yeah, I agree, but
I don't know how she
it's,
lost,
It's the
but-
point
Oh, yeah,
scoring,
it's
isn't
stupid,
it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
With the like tap you with a leg kick, that's 2 points. Crack you with a right hand, that's 1. Like
Yeah, my favorite that day was how Victor got robbed, and you go, that fool is gonna like be able to smoke a cigarette in the shower tomorrow.
yeah,
Like,
it's good. Nose is gonna be that big.
but
But
what
yeah.
was that kind of like cornering your wife? Like, is you like one of those guys like anxiety driven? Or are you just like, go, she's got this?
I think as a coach, I put myself into a different place. So when I'm coaching, and obviously cornering is under that umbrella, I take myself to a place where I'm not so emotionally like in the fight myself. I
Yeah.
try to be the rational head because obviously when you are fighting, you're very emotional.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So you need that rationale, and you need to have that person in your corner who you can trust.
yeah,
And like I look at like Adam.
Yeah.
Adam is the most stoic person you've ever seen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's just like, shit happens, I'm ready to deal with all of it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So I like to take pieces from the coaches who I've been coached by, and I would say Adam is probably a big influence on that. Like he always just takes everything in his stride. So I try to emulate that then when I'm cornering, and it's just like I see this. These are the adjustments that I think we need to make. Are you feeling okay? Do you need water? Blah blah blah.
Yep.
Right, we're good. Let's go.
yeah. Because
You know
I
what I
can definitely attest that. Because even that day when I was fighting, like one of the voices that I heard very clearly was yours, and like I like. You know, and that one, like for me, I was like, as you guys saw, like it was super in my head, super nervous, just
Yeah.
because, like, just from last time getting like falling on concrete floor and gassing out was just so in my head.
Yeah,
It was like the fear of like, oh, what if I gas out? What if I like fall on the floor again?
Mhm.
You know, it was so, it just fucked with me entirely.
yeah.
But I remembered like it's like those calm moments, like you said, right, where it's like I may be in my head or it may be go time, and I'm like, come on, get going. And I remember like. I think it was a combo you yelled or something, or either you or Garrett or somebody yelled, but it was just something I had heard so often. I was like, like
Yeah,
that's
it was
when
there,
I finally got it going.
Yeah.
And granted, it was too late. I lost. Like
Yeah.
you know,
No, I mean,
I fully admit.
there's no shame in that either.
Oh,
You shouldn't
no,
be
not at
like,
all.
yeah,
Like,
thing.
I
But
had
you,
lost. I was super nervous and my legs were shaking. Like,
yeah.
what-
But that's
it
what it is. Like
happened.
you're fighting somebody. It's
yeah,
it's a big emotional commitment to
Mhm.
agree to stand in front of somebody and
Yeah.
fucking bang it out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And 2, you're going to be emotional in there because you've invested so much into
Yeah.
training into it, and then this is the moment that you've
Yeah.
spent weeks thinking about. You know?
yeah,
So yeah, I always say, I think Kyle said this to me. When you're in the heat of a moment or a battle or something like
Yeah.
that, you always resort to your lowest level of training.
yeah,
So whatever habits you've built,
Yep.
they come out.
mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So like, for instance, when I box, I try, or when I'm hitting the bag or whatever, I try to, every time I jab, have some sort of defensive movement or
Yep.
like add something after that. So then when I'm fighting, it's like my body just naturally does it. Even if I'm
Yeah.
tired, it's like, bing, my head's not in the same spot. Or like I throw my kick, bang, the kick comes straight back down, so I'm ready to respond to whatever comes.
Yeah, I gotta agree. That's why like some of the best fighters, and I've heard Adam like preach it. I don't know how many times, but like why he's like, and just most coaches are so intensive. Why when you shadow box you go to 100%, and because that's your tool to visualize.
Mm-hmm.
As if I'm not instinctually like going at 100 all the time. Like I'm not gonna know anything else. Like actually, a funny story was like for a stunt like fight I had to do. Stunt coordinator had to like come tell me like, hey man, you're doing great. Like, great technique. You're at a 7. I need you to be at a 3. Like the other guy, and the other guy was like a kind of a thicker guy, not as athletic. He's like, I know you can do this, like, but for his sake, be at a 3. And I was like, the most I can give you is 5.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to not be at a 7 because
Yeah.
like I said, just from the way we train, like we're used to just. You have to be at 100 all the time because that's the way you're going to strike in the fight.
Yeah,
That's the way your body's just used to running at that RPM. Like,
yeah, and it's the difference between like going to like a what would you say,
going to like a martial arts gym versus going to a fight gym.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Subfighter's a fight gym.
It's a
Even
fight
though
gym.
it's a martial arts gym, it's a fight gym.
Yeah,
know?
it's a fight gym with, I'd say, some definitely martial arts gyms aspect in terms of the philosophy and the self-improvement stuff.
Mhm.
But if you want to fight, like, you go there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it builds fighters with tough mentalities and
Yeah.
and like that never say die attitude.
Yep.
And I think you don't get that at a lot of places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I give Adam again loads of credit for that. Like he's
dude.
built a brilliant machine. You know what I mean? That produces very, very quality fighters.
Yeah, like I said, like, you know, look at our same backgrounds. Like, you, of course, you would thrived and everything, but like you take like a kid like me who was like a nerdy skinny kid, 140 pounds soaking wet, and now this is my lifestyle.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
All it revolves around just proves to go like the system works.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and it
if you
changes
throw-
lives. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you throw yourself into something, you can get a lot out of it, even things you didn't expect. Like when I started training martial arts, I didn't expect that. Man, I'm gonna start like learning how to box, and that's gonna lead me to talk in front of a camera with my friends
Yeah,
one
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Like, no. But this is the beautiful and awesome things that I get out of it, is like meeting people like
Yeah.
you and getting to like help and promote a business and getting to interview and learn more about your story, as well as getting to train with other fighters. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, like I said, it comes down to the simple point of, if you want to get into this, sign up for F3, guys. You
Yeah.
know, which leads me into my final checkpoint, which is any shout outs or anything you kind of want to leave us, man, or any closing notes you want to make.
I would say I think I've said a bunch of people here on the podcast already, but yeah, Adam's been brilliant, helping me out. Chase, all my teammates, Jacob, everybody who's always there in my camps and my corners, stuff like
MMA
that.
debut this Saturday for Spar Star.
Oh yeah, J Pre, shout out J Pre. Yeah, F3 coaching, F3_coaching is my Instagram. Go give that a follow. Trying to produce some confident people with some skills and help them progress on in life and change their lifestyle for the better. That's kind of my goal and philosophy out of coaching. So yeah, go give me a follow, give me a like, send me a message if you want to get involved. Like that.
Sweet, man. You guys heard the man. You guys can always follow me at adam.araby/follow our guy G for all your DP needs. If you need something shot, he's got you, and whatever you need. All right. And that is another day in the fight life with Brandon, the fighting footballer, Mcardle.
This is why you shouldn't record video.
Shout out F3. Shout out F3.
F3, let's go. You want to learn how to do this? Follow me at F3 Coaching on Instagram.